with great possessions. That was the promise that God made to Abraham. Now, you may wonder, why would God put his own people in slavery for that long time? 400 years. It's a good question. It's okay to wonder, why would God put his own people in that situation? Not only to be slaves, but to be mistreated. Why would God do that to his own people? That is a good question. It's okay to ask God. That's not offensive. God allows you to relate to him, but not to question him in an arrogant way, but to delightfully, in a holy mind, question him in a friendly conversation. Not to disrespect God, no, but to know him more. Because if you have a child and he comes to you with respect, kindness, and joy in his or mind, and say, "Daddy, you want me to go into my room for 4 hours?" Why would you do that to me, Daddy? If the child smiles and the father could read his demeanor, that his intention is not to question his authority, but to know more about his father's philosophy or personality. So it's okay to ask God why. But I wasn't there then. And I couldn't tell you why God put Abraham's descendant in slavery in a foreign land, being mistreated for 400 years. But at the end, there was joy and gladness in lots and lots of possessions that would come out with them from Egypt. Now, let's go into the book of Exodus, chapter 12. Exodus, chapter 12. And I'm going to read from 29 to 30. At midnight, the Lord struck down all the firstborn in Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh, who sat on the throne, to the firstborn of the prisoner, who was in the dungeon, and the firstborn of all the livestock as well. Pharaoh and all his officials and all the Egyptians got up during the night, and there were loud wailing in Egypt, for there was not a house without someone dead. So now, before the Red Sea, God spoke with Abraham. Now, what he spoke to Abraham has now come to pass. Now they are in Egypt. They were in Egypt, but they were there more than 400 years. They were there for 430 years. 30 years past the limit that God consciously spoke with Abraham. Not 400 years, but 430 years. 30 years extra. Now, remember that Moses met with God on Mount Horeb by the burning bush. God spoke to him, gave him instruction to go to Pharaoh to tell him, let my people go. There were plagues upon plagues. And the last straw that broke the camel's back was that which I just read. And every firstborn in the land of Egypt died, including the livestock. I mean, including the animals. Every firstborn in the family died. The Bible said, for there was not a house without someone dead. That was the last straw that broke the camel's back. That was the last plague. It was the last incident that happened until Pharaoh said he had enough. The Israelites had to leave. They have to leave. Plagues upon plagues plagued the country of Egypt, to the extent that Pharaoh said, you know, God, you win. See, in verse 31, Exodus 12, verse 31, during the night, Pharaoh summoned Moses and Aaron and said, up, up, leave my people, you and the Israelites, go, worship the Lord as you have requested. Take your flocks and herds, as you have said, and go, and also bless me. So now, Pharaoh said, go, but before you go, bless me. So this happened before the Red Sea. I'm taking you to somewhere, but I want you to know where we are coming from. You need to know where you are coming from before you know where you're going, because there is a starting point, and then you go to the end point. The starting point was the conversation God had with Abraham, to where he spoke with Moses in Mount Horeb, on Mount Horeb. Moses back to Egypt, communication with King Pharaoh. Pharaoh's hard head would not let go, and God plagued the country with numerous plagues until Pharaoh gave up. And now Israelites had the ground, the grace to leave Egypt, but they had to go through an area, Red Sea, in the sea that is red, the Red Sea. Now, let me also read from the same chapter, 12, Exodus 12, 40 to 41. Exodus 12, 40 to 41. Now, the length of time the Israelite people lived in Egypt was 430 years. Remember that God told Abraham that his descendants will live there for 400 years in slavery, mistreated, and they will come out eventually with lots and lots of goodness, wealth, belongings. But for some reason, they spent 30 extra years. So, not that they